It is our story. Hafiz, I bet you liked that one, didn't you? You liked it?
Yeah.
You did?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that was a short one. Anyway, thank you. How are you doing today?
I'm doing well. I'm doing well.
Nice, nice,
No
nice, nice.
complaints.
I
Yeah.
mean, yeah, definitely. We've been talking about peace throughout, but I think it's very key that we would want to also touch on people who've had less mentioning, in terms of their role in, giving, the country they coming from, or generally in Africa, the role they played, to actually bringing about peace generally, and that is what we're looking at today. Silent, heroes across the continent of Africa have contributed their
Mm-hmm.
quota, to peace and stability that we're enjoying today. Hafiz.
Yeah. Talking Silent Hills. I
Mm.
remember we did the same thing in the Black History Month, where
Yeah, yeah.
we covered some very interesting
Human
names.
rights
Yes,
activist, yeah.
some names that
Mm.
deserve mentioning when you
Right.
talk about Black history,
Mm.
African American history. That is. I mean,
Right.
we discussed the likes of Garrett Morgan,
Mm-hmm.
Ida B. Wells Barnett,
Yep.
C.J. Walker,
Mm-hmm.
Thurgood Marshall. You named them.
Then
I mean,
yeah. Mm-hmm.
yes, we went all in all, and I think we give some people, an idea of the sort of history they were sitting
Yeah.
on, and if they wanted to read further,
Mm.
they should definitely start with these names.
True.
And today, we're actually doing one on Africa.
Mm.
Yes, we are coming back home. So
Absolutely.
yes, the motherland. Americans want to refer to that.
They
The
got the
motherland.
motherland.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So let's look at some names now. In Africa, when you talk about heroes, I mean freedom fighters, you mentioned Ghana, people thinking Kwame Nkrumah.
Yeah.
Yeah, you mentioned South Africa, people.
Mandela.
You mentioned Kenya, Jomo Kenyatta.
Kenyatta. You
So all
mentioned
these
Burkina
names,
Faso, Thomas Sankara.
Kara,
Kind of thing.
exactly.
Yeah.
So you have all these names, and we get
Mm.
them. These are the regular names on everyone's lips.
Mm.
But let's look at those that don't exactly get the spotlight,
Mm.
even though they had significant contributions to,
Right.
uh, you know, the freedom, fighting and everything in their
Mm.
country.
Mm.
Now, one man I want to discuss. Now, I'm moving to Kenya here.
Okay.
Yes, and one man I
Seems you
want.
like Kenya.
Well,
You want to visit
I want
Kenya
to.
someday?
I want to taste nyamachuma.
Look at you. You test me. Yeah, Machoma. Okay.
Anyway,
Right.
so one man that has won a lot of admirers such as Nelson Mandela himself,
Okay.
admirers such as our very own late ex-president Jerry John Rawlings,
Okay.
to the extent he even named one of his four kids after him.
Right.
Guess who?
Kimati?
Kimati.
Yep.
So I'm talking about Dedan Kimati Wachure.
Mm.
Now, not so many know these names because, I mean, when you talk about Kimati, I think he's one man, even in the histories, when they talk about his freedom fighting exploits with Jomo Kenyatta, Jomo
Okay.
Kenyatta was more the diplomat,
Okay.
trying to do things by the book.
Yeah.
Let's follow things by the
Mhm.
rules, and
The
he-
UGCC style,
exactly the piecemeal approach.
Yeah.
Kimati was like, now these people only understand violence. Let's
Okay.
give it to them hot, hot.
Really?
So that was his approach.
Mm.
So anyway, so he's a controversial figure. Now he was a man born on 31st October 1920
Okay.
in a little village known as Tegi.
Tay.
Tegi, yes,
Okay.
in Kenya. Now, before he was born, a month before he was born, his father had passed, and so the responsibility to raise him was
Was on the
solely
mother.
on the mother.
Mm.
And so this was a young man that some would say was a hothead. Okay, he was one of those guys you couldn't control. A smart young man nonetheless, but he had trouble with the laws all the time. He didn't like the idea of doing things by the book and just, basically he didn't like the laws.
But what
So-
but don't you think others or other school of thought will think that is one person who is not law abiding?
He had what I would call a fiery personality.
Okay.
Those
You
individuals,
always want to question things,
you
yeah?
want to control them. He was just all over the
Yeah. Okay.
I mean, in school, he had troubles. I mean, it was a reason he was drifting in and out of schools. I mean, in trouble, he had trouble with discipline and everything.
Okay.
With teachers. So this sort of behavior
Mm.
would follow him later in life. Now, interestingly, he was a smart young man.
Okay.
Yes, he was part of the debate club. He had a very good command of the English language.
Okay.
Now, I'm not saying he's smart because he had a good command of the English language, but I mean, for someone that
He could
was
reason.
in and out of
Yeah,
school and
mhm. And being
wasn't
able
stable,
to
exactly
articulate
Yes,
himself,
So
yeah.
he was a huge part of the debate club in his school.
Okay.
Yes, for that reason. But because of his his behavior. I
Mm.
mean, later in life, it would worry him in trying to, trying to secure a job or just manage a
Land
living.
the position
Exactly.
somewhere.
So he started out, with clerical duties, something small, even
Okay.
tendering to pigs and everything. Went on to secure a job as a teacher. Now get this, as a teacher, allegedly he lost that job because students complained that he was violent.
Oh dear.
Yes, that was just to tell you how strict
Yeah,
and the
yeah.
kind of person he was, to paint a picture. Now he will still try to secure a job and just try to make something of his life.
Okay.
So in late 1940s, 1940s actually, he decided to enlist into the British Army.
Right.
Guess what? A month later into that, he lost it. So, and
Interesting
he was,
figure right there.
exactly. So a month later into it, he was discharged, and this time the allegation was that he was engaged in drunken conduct and was, allegedly very very violent towards his fellow recruits. Then, so
Okay.
yes, he was discharged. So it went on and on and on until he wanted to find his foot, and this discovery would later lead into a movement called the Mau Mau, the Mau Mau
The Mau Mau, yeah.
movements.
Mm.
Now, for those that don't know the Mau Mau, their real name is a movement that wanted to reclaim the land that the British settlers had taken. So
Okay.
that was the
In
whole
Kenya.
in Kenya. So that was the whole
Right.
idea of the Mau Mau movement.
Mm.
But their real name is actually the Kenya Land and Freedom Army.
Okay.
So it's like much like what we call Boko Haram.
Okay.
They actually prefer to be called Jamaat al-Sunnah al-Da'wah al-Jihad.
Okay.
That is their actual name.
Yeah,
But in
yeah,
the media,
yeah.
they call them Boko
Boko
Haram.
Haram, yeah.
Yes. So in these guys in the media, they were known as the Mau Mau movement.
Okay.
Yes, but they were actually called the Kenya Land and Freedom Army.
All right.
Now, and which he eventually became a part of. Now, some are even asking how the Mau Mau name came about,
Mm.
because I mean, if you look at the Mau, Mau is he belonged to what you call the Kiyuku tribe, and it's the largest.
Kiyoko.
Kiyuku, yes, and
Okay.
it's actually the Kikuyu, that is
Kikuyi. Okay.
Kikuyu, yes.
Mhm.
It is actually the largest ethnic group in Kenya.
Right.
Yes, and they have a word for go, which is
Um.
uma.
Uma in
Yes.
Swahili, I guess.
Yes,
Okay.
UMA,
Uma. Okay.
uma.
Mm.
So some believe the Mao is an anagram of that word.
Oh.
Now, an anagram is simply word play,
Mm.
interchanging words
Yeah.
from the
Yeah.
original to give you a
Mm.
deep feminine. So if you
Mm.
take a word like gleam,
Mm.
you can form the word angel from it, something
Yeah.
like that.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
So uma, you twist it around, you get Mao. Go
Right.
go. So something
Mm.
like that. So he became. So let me just wrap it up. So he became, rose through the ranks. He was part of the movement, and he was entrusted with initiation duties. Where he was
Okay.
supposed to, perform initiation ceremonies for new recruits and everything. And
Okay.
the allegations in there again was that
He was too.
it was too stern. I mean, it involved a lot of beating. So if you couldn't take a beating, you would enjoy
Oh
beatings.
God.
Yes, and drinking all kinds of stuff like urine and
Oh Lord.
all kinds of things. Anyway, so that was how difficult he was,
Mm.
and the kind of person he was. So later he would engage the British colonialists in a fight that led to a lot of loss of lives, including his own. A lot of Kenyans lost their lives through that. But it's war. There are other details to that. I won't even want to go
Right.
there. But so it would lead the British government to want him DOA, dead or alive.
Okay.
So there was this inspector that was to lead an investigation into it. That was Ian Henderson, but he
A
wouldn't.
British.
Yes.
Okay.
So he wouldn't capture him. Eventually, he was shot in the leg. Yes, by one of
Kimathi
his
was
own.
shot in the leg.
Yes, he
Okay.
was shot in the leg and captured by one of his own. So he was in the hospital, and then he was sentenced to death by hanging. I think that was in February 18, 1957.
Okay.
So he was hanged publicly, that is, and when he died, even the graveyard wasn't marked because it was to prevent Kenyans from turning it allegedly into a shrine. So it
Mm.
wasn't marked. Now guess when they found the grave? That was like just like what, 2019.
What?
Yeah. So that was how long.
That was
And
when
if
they found his grave.
yes, the spot he was actually buried. And the thing was, even at that, when any government that came in didn't want to recognize him as a national hero because of his, other tactics and everything. But eventually, Mwai Kibaki decided to go against all of that. In 2007, erected a 2-meter statue of a Kimathi,
Kimathi.
yes, in central Nairobi. So
Mm.
if you ever visit Kenya in Nairobi, you will miss it.
Okay. So
So read up more on him.
so the
Anyway,
thing here is the Mau Mau movement that he led in the war against the British.
yes.
Okay.
So he won a lot of admirers, including our own Jerry Rawlings. So
Okay.
he decided to name his son
Mm.
Kimati.
Kimati.
Yes. So Dedan
Uh,
Kimati, you have it.
Right. Okay. Thank you for that one. Well, from Ghana, went to Kenya. Had a brief on. What's the full name again? Kimati.
Dedan Kimati Wachuri.
Dedan Kimati Wachuri. Great. All right. Another, interesting personality right there. I like the story though, and it goes out and this and that. But interesting figure. Let's go to Epiphania and hear what personality she's talking about today. In Africa, it's all about peace, and these people are those that are less mentioned generally. I mean, talk about Kimati. His grave was just found 2019. So imagine. Anyway, Epi.
Sorry.
Mm,
I'm going to Sudan.
okay.
Yes, I'll be
Interesting
talking
place.
about John Garang de Mathew.
Okay.
Yeah, that was his name, and he was a Sudanese politician and a revolution leader.
Okay.
Now, one thing he did was from the year 1983 to 2005, he actually led the Sudanese People's Liberation Army
Okay.
as they fought for freedom during the Second Sudanese Civil War.
Right.
Yes, and one thing he also pushed for was the peace agreement.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, and he actually became the first seven vice president of Sudan
Okay.
during that time because
Right.
of his efforts that he put in there.
Mm.
He was orphaned at a very young age, so
Mm.
he had a fellow relative pay his school fees, and then yes, he got a scholarship to the States. He went there. He got his first degree in economics,
Okay.
and he got another scholarship to
Mhm.
still stay and study, but he decided to come back down.
Okay.
Unfortunately, during to the unrest, the war then happening in Sudan, he
Mm.
had to continue his studies in Tanzania.
Okay.
Yes, so when he came back, he realized that no, there are a lot of things going on. As much as I have a good opportunity out there,
Okay.
I'd want to stay home
Mm-hmm.
and use what I have to be able to help my people.
Mm.
So then that's when he started checking what he could do because he was of the Dinka ethnic group.
Okay.
Yes, and he wanted to see, okay, how do we put the people together? How do we attain peace? You
Mhm.
understand? Yes. So he kept speaking to the people, grassroots, meeting everybody individually, meeting the various leaders of the tiny, should I say tiny groups or heads of groups.
Okay.
Yes.
Mm.
And he tried to establish peace, but then, when people make up their mind that no matter what you do, we are still going
Yeah,
head to head
yeah,
with each other. You
yeah,
understand? So,
mm.
yes, that he realized that it wasn't going to happen and there was going to be a second civil war in Sudan. And he said, look, I'm not going to sit down and say, because I've tried, I'm giving up.
Okay.
So he decided to take part in it. But as much as he was at it, he was still trying to bring peace and unite the people.
Right.
One thing John believed was that for the people of Sudan to live in cohesion, they must not separate themselves. You
Okay.
understand? Into many existing ethnic groups. Because that way everybody becomes like, this is me and my people. This is me and my people. So we can't work together. We can't do this together.
Okay.
So he was working towards a Sudan that was just united. One Sudan.
Okay.
Yes, that is
Okay.
what he was looking for. And he believed that it would be good if they had it as a nation collectively,
Okay.
rather than everybody saying we're from here, we're black Africanness, we're
Yeah.
Arabic people, we're Islamic, we're Christian. No, he didn't want that. He just wanted unity in all the people.
Right.
But then you have people who have made up their mind that no matter what you
Yeah,
do,
would oppose you, huh?
that is the thing.
Great.
We'll still go at it with what we've got. But then he died, unfortunately, in the war. He died. I mean, but he was able to attain a lot because after his death, it brought peace to Sudan.
Okay.
I mean, yes,
Okay.
it stabilized things, and people then came to actually understand what he was trying to say.
To propagate.
Exactly,
Yeah.
exactly.
Right. The name
And
again.
one interesting fact is he went to the school. I mean, they were in the same year batch, but then they met in the same school. Yoweri Museveni, John Garang, and Yoweri Museveni met in
Okay.
the same school.
The current
yes.
presidents of what do you call it? Uganda.
But he was his senior,
Senior?
exactly.
Right.
But people often think that they were in the same.
Oh
batch,
yeah.
exactly.
Wow.
I love Africa Global Radio.
Interesting personality right there. The name again, John
Dr.
Dr.
John Garang de Mabio.
Garang de Mabio. Interesting. Mame, from South Sudan, where are we going to?
Okay, so in as much as we are celebrating silent heroes,
Right.
I would like to look at some youth groups
Okay.
that are still doing their best to maintain peace and stability
Right.
in certain regions of the continent.
Okay.
Now, the first region I'll be looking at is Central Africa.
Okay.
So, the first group I'm talking about is the Local Youth Corner Cameroon.
Mm-hmm.
What they did was they launched the Spread Love campaign with the aim of providing young people with the capacity to design and implement initiatives on preventing and countering hate speech.
Right. That's brilliant.
Yes, and then the next group I'm looking at is the Youth Initiative for Inclusive Dialogue.
Mm-hmm.
And that was a program that was brought about by the Life Aid Organization to encourage you to step forward to contribute to sustainable peace building by interrogating the causes of conflict and also implement innovative conflict transformation strategies.
Okay.
The next group I have is the Interfaith Platform of Central African Youth, that is the PICHCA, and they are aimed at preventing and managing sectarian conflict in the Central African Republic.
Right.
Its primary goal is to foster dialogue with a view to ending violence, promoting peace, and rebuilding their respective communities.
Okay.
Now, the PICHCA has also provided material and financial support to former young combatants to engage in subsistence livelihood opportunities such as fishing, farming, especially in Kulamanja.
Right.
The next group I'm looking at is LOCOC, which is currently working in 8 prisons in Cameroon to provide repeat offenders an opportunity to pursue crime-free lifestyles and shun radicalization. I think this is a very important one.
Yep.
Because some
Yep.
people come out of prison and then they're shunned. You're a criminal.
Yeah. Yeah.
So they can't find work. People don't want to associate with them. And then unfortunately they find themselves going back to
To
their
the same
old
act.
ways.
Yes. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah.
There's still some more, but you can go around and then come
Right,
back.
right. Okay, thank you, Mommy. We looked at individual, went to Sudan, went to Kenya, and of course, looked at some groups as Mommy, just in Central Africa and everything. Let me bring Hafiz back here.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, that's the thing with peace. It's like even I think even the people, citizens in the country as well. I think these people even demand for peace sometimes. Because they have a role that they kind of play, because they may not have the voice, but amongst the various communities, like Mami mentioned, in a country, you'd find some of these groups, factions, let's say religious factions, ethnic group factions, and everything, even actually advocating for some of these things and pushing forward. Because when you take Ghana, for instance, talking about the fights towards the struggle to independence. When Kwame Nkrumah was actually delivering his speech, he mentioned every worker, the farmers, the market women, what do you call it? He mentioned a group of names. You'd realize that all of these people have a part to play towards a certain agenda for a particular, jurisdiction.
Look, you need to understand something. There's a reason they say the voice of the people is the voice of God.
Right.
Yes. For every movement, there needs to be a face. There needs to be a leader. That's usually why you'd have all these individuals, all these names crop up, to lead a movement.
Right.
Because at the end of the day, what are you looking to achieve? You need someone to coordinate all these efforts.
True.
Okay. Other than that, it's just going to be all noise and all back and no bite.
Yeah.
So that is usually when situation arise. That's where you find some naturally leadership is bestowed on them. Yes, they didn't even ask for it.
Right.
Some way, somehow, they said something, and
the people
somehow
were like,
they became
yeah,
the face
we
of,
agree with you.
of a movement, and that was it.
Yeah.
Yes, we've seen that, and some actually go searching for it and everything. So, the situation demands, depending on whatever the situation you find yourself in the clarion call for peace, responding to the needs of the people, you find certain individuals, certain names that would take the limelight. Some would even do almost the same thing, but would not even get mentioned, like even a side note in the books of history.
Yeah.
Which is very rough. Yes. And so these are the people we are trying to put out there. Okay, these are equally people that did a lot, but somehow, some way, their names are either missing or just like that. Like nobody really talks about them.
Yeah.
And you think that is actually not fair, because you realize that some of them, even beyond their country, that's it. you never really get to
Yeah.
know who did what or who they are
Mm.
until you actually get into the country.
Mm.
Because even the next person I'm going to talk about,
Okay.
Walter Max Uliat Sisulu. Or
From.
Walter Sisulu. You see, you're even asking from. He was Nelson Mandela's mentor and cellmate.
Oh.
Yes, he even has a
Oh.
university in South Africa. Most South Africans would know him, but I think beyond South Africa, a lot
Yeah,
of
that's like a new name
yes,
for
exactly.
me.
So
Wow.
Walter Sisulu
It
was
wasn't the
that
same.
quiet guy and in the background doing his thing. Okay,
Wow.
and they forged an amazing bond. And when you talked about the ANC,
Mm.
they were like the four guys that were there:
Mm.
Nelson Mandela, Walter Sisulu. You have Oliver Tambo. There was
Yeah,
Thabo
Oliver
Mbeki's
Thabo
father,
Mbeki. Oh,
Govan Mbeki.
Mbeki.
Yes,
Okay.
so these are the guys that held
Mm.
ANC and everything.
Mm.
So, and Nelson Mandela, when he talked about this man and his impact
Yeah.
on his life, I mean, this was a guy that got him his first job, even though with very little education.
Mm.
Yes, yes.
He got Mandela,
Mandela,
his
yes,
first job.
in a lawyer's office. Bought him his first suit for his graduation.
Oh dear.
So
He did a lot.
yes,
He did a
so
lot.
he had a huge impact on Nelson Mandela,
Mm.
and this was a man that refused any form of formal position.
Okay.
in
In
Nig-
governments.
Yes, in government. But Mandela said in his, in his autobiography, Long Walk to Freedom,
Yeah.
that he wouldn't do anything without consulting Walter first.
Wow. Wow.
That's how much he respected his opinion.
Yeah.
Yes. So, I mean, this was a man that had a white father and a black
Okay.
mother. Now, in apartheid South Africa, he could have simply be like, you know what,
Align
this
himself.
this
and, like,
black
you
struggle
guys,
is not
yeah.
my business. I mean,
Yeah.
he could claim classification as mixed or colored,
Exactly.
and then enjoy all the goodies that comes with it.
Right.
But he was like, and he hardly even referred to the white side of him.
Mm. He
usually
saw
leaning
himself
towards
as an
exactly.
African
And
first
so,
and foremost.
I
Right.
mean, just go ahead and read up on Walter
Wow.
Sisulu. Yeah, he's
Wow.
an interesting man.
Amazing.
That's unique.
You see, that's the interesting part about it. You realize that there's that one key person close to these figures that we know, and these are the guys who actually, you know what, go do this, do that. Take plan A rather than plan B.
You see,
or
it
do
is-
this or do that.
It's the reason that this whole situation created some little bit of confusion, or should I say, arguments
Friction, okay.
in public discourse in Ghana when it comes to the founders' name. name thing.
Exactly. I mean,
Okay,
we've been tossing
because-
the date here and there, back and forth.
So I like
Yeah.
founders apostrophe S, and others were like, no, founders with S
I
apostrophe.
actually found that thing awkward at a point in time. I'm like, why are we battling apostrophes and founders
yes,
right now?
So I like, it's not just Kwame Nkrumah. Acknowledge the others.
No, but I think,
Like,
I
so-
think every I think to a larger extent, we would understand that one man cannot do the job alone.
Careful there.
No, but it's true.
Okay.
You can be, like you said, you can be that one that we would push to be the mouthpiece. Okay, but there are key people doing other job as well. Okay, he cannot travel to the UK and be in Ghana at the same time, negotiating and what have you. There are other people who would be here doing stuff,
You
right?
see, I think, look, it's all well and good if the whole idea is just recognizing the others. But I think what the issue most people had in it with that agenda was that it wasn't born out of the fact that they wanted to recognize. They felt it was just more like they felt one man was taking the
The
limelight.
credits way too much.
So hey,
Mm.
easy there. There's also a tradition in the corner that did something. So,
Yeah.
hey, you better
No,
recognize
but don't
us.
you, yeah,
So-
absolutely.
so-
But the obvious truth is there will always be that one figure who's very well recognized as the spearhead, as the one who came in and
No,
you know what? Let's
practically
just,
no one man can do it all.
that's what I said. That's what I was talking about.
Yes, but
Anyway.
you still have just one name there that is
Yeah.
out there that everyone can
Everyone,
easily.
but yeah,
pinpoint it.
yeah. But I think it
In
gives
the
a
face
deeper
of the
meaning, and it gives us a more richer content in terms of the history of independence struggle and what have you. Let me go to Epi, and see which country she's flying us to this time, or she just has a top up, and I don't know. Now that we have Southern and Northern Sudan, I wonder which one he would prefer to be. But unfortunately, now we have two types of Sudan, right? Okay,
North and South.
North
which
and
is
South,
unfortunate.
yeah,
And the thing about them is, when they had this whole misunderstanding,
yeah.
now the oil is in the south,
South,
and the
yes.
refinery is in the north. So who's losing?
No, that I was wondering, yeah.
The world
You
works.
see, and one comedian made a joke that he was making a list of countries that don't like each other. I said if they share the same name and it's North and South, they hate each other. So North Korea, South
South
Korea,
Korea. Yeah,
North
yeah.
Sudan, South Sudan.
Right.
So all
Anyway,
these things.
let me have you take a real quick so we can move on. Yeah.
So in 1983, we were still in Sudan. I
Mm.
mean, before they became North and South. 1983,
Okay.
we had the first man who fired the first rebellious shot. And this he did because then they were trying to impose the Islamic law on the whole of Sudan,
Okay.
or what you call the Sharia.
Yeah.
Across the whole country, it was trying to be implemented. And this was a country that had a lot of people who were Christians.
Okay.
And some of them were, they call themselves animist, or like tradition, they belong to a traditional religion.
Right. Right.
So they thought it was not right. This is one of the main causes of the Sudan Civil War then.
Okay.
So we had Kerubino Kwayin Ball, and he was the first man to fire the first shot and realized that, look, this is not possible. If you want to set up a law that works for your people,
Okay.
let it go for your people.
Right.
But then for you to set it across the whole country, so then you're disregarding the beliefs of all the other people.
Okay.
No, we can't let
wouldn't
that
work.
happen. Exactly.
Right.
So he led the people as well.
Okay.
And he didn't do this alone. I mean, he was associated with John.
Okay. Okay.
Yes.
Right.
He was
Right.
associated with John.
Okay. Great one. Thank you, Epi. Let me pick my final one from my May.
Okay, so still all my youth groups, because most of them are not talked about.
Yep.
Most of them are not, we don't see the work they do, but they are there and then they are working.
Oh.
So now we are moving, we started with Central Africa.
Yep.
Central Africa. Now we're moving to East Africa.
Okay.
So when you go to Uganda, there's a group called the Batwa Development Organization.
Right.
And what they do is they promote peaceful coexistence between the Bakiga and then the Batwa communities.
Okay.
And these are two communities that have been at loggerheads and in violent contestation
long,
for
huh?
a very long time.
Right. Right.
And now I'm moving to Ethiopia.
Okay.
So in Ethiopia, there's a group there called the Ditni Tech group.
Okay.
And then they, in collaboration with relevant authorities, also fostered peace between two factions of refugees and their respective host communities, especially in the aftermath of the violence that led to the destruction of properties
All right.
at Thapam, Kebele, Itang, Woreda
Okay.
in the Gambela region. Now, bringing it back to Somalia. In Somalia, there's a Center for Youth Empowerment.
Okay.
And what they do is they engage their members and the wider constituency of young people in the capital, which is Mogadishu, on initiatives to prevent violent extremism and promote peace by mobilizing dozens of creatives, visual and performing artists to revisit and retell the stories of the country. And then when you come to Tanzania, we have the Mama's Hope Organization for Legal Assistance. And then they conduct public sensitization and awareness campaigns on the threats and ills of SGBV.
Right. Interesting.
They advocate for the respect of women's rights,
Okay.
as well as, especially the right to own land and property,
Okay.
as well as provide free legal assistance to marginalized groups. That includes court representation, mediation, and drafting of documents. I
Yeah.
mean, there's a whole list
There's a
of
whole
groups.
lot.
There's a whole list of groups. And I think their work should be commended
Yeah.
because we always talk about how the youth is the future of the nation.
Yeah.
The youth is the future of the continent, the youth is the future of the world. And if all of these groups have been created to bring
Yeah,
the youth on
with the
board into
motive
fostering
of- yeah.
peace in our communities, then it's a great thing.
And you know, the thing is, when there's, what do you call it, conflict, unrest, and what have you, is about to start, it begins with them. Because
mean,
they're the
it's
first
the
people
youth they
to take it to the
recruit
streets.
to-
And,
Yes, I
so-
mean, when you come to Ghana, I think we have the Northern Youth for Peace and Development.
Yeah, we have something like that. Well, yeah.
Yes, I know they have Northern. I used
I
to
remember
know their head.
when Blaise Compaoré was kicked out of office. It was the youth in Burkina Faso. Like they went and burnt the parliaments. They were like all over. It was just the youth who actually doing
I mean, I think
the back and forth.
over
you know.
70%
So
of
very well.
Africa's population is the youth.
Oh yeah, I think we have the most youths in the world. So definitely.
The reason a lot of security analysts, when talking about peace and security, they keep hammering on the youth.
The youth,
Because
yeah.
if they are
yeah.
jobless, I mean,
They'll take it to the
it's-
streets.
It's a
Oh,
security
yeah.
threat.
Mm-hmm.
Because, and you see, the thing about joblessness is that, I mean, these people, you would think that, okay, you are in your little corner, you are not doing anything to
to bother
to bother
anybody or any
anybody.
other thing. Yeah.
But you see, the thing about it is that these guys are on the streets. They watch you.
Yeah.
You know,
You
take,
drive
take,
by
take your kids to the fanciest
with a
of
flashy
schools, in
cars.
a flashy car. They see all, you know.
You come out on the weekend
I mean,
running
what's
with
in your cars
with your
when you- when-
Jordans and all.
I mean,
Sorry?
yeah, your kids go
And
on
I don't have a
vacation,
job.
and I don't even
And
know
I'm
what
not even eating
vacation
in the
is.
morning.
So they
so-
see you at in traffic.
Yeah, and you're annoying actually.
And all they see
Yeah.
is the cause of their problems.
Yeah.
That is very true.
Yeah,
I
you
mean,
know.
So
So let's
that's why
let's just do
Well,
better.
I mean, let's even take a look at the Fix the Nation campaign that is
Right.
ongoing here.
I
in
mean,
our
who
base.
are
It was
those
started
champions?
by
Exactly.
one person, and then the youth took it
Yeah,
up because
and it's like-
we are feeling
The
what
heat.
is going on in the
The
country.
heat, yes. So yeah, get them jobs and fix it. That's I think my hashtag. Fix it. Thank you very much, guys. The show was Africa Daily on Africa Global Radio. That was very interesting. Celebrating silent heroes and of course, groups who are really paying their quota to ensure peace and stability in our various societies at large.